The moment Jadarian Price made his decision public, Notre Dame's offseason quietly shifted from one of expectation to one of reckoning. Marcus Freeman has navigated roster turnover before, but rarely has he been forced to confront the departure of an entire identity group at once. With Price joining Jeremiah Love in declaring for the NFL draft, the Fighting Irish suddenly find themselves staring at an empty space where one of the most feared backfields in college football once stood. It is not simply about replacing carries or touchdowns. It is about redefining certainty at a position that had become the foundation of everything Notre Dame wanted to be offensively. Love's decision felt pre-written. From the moment he emerged as a national star, his trajectory pointed unmistakably toward the NFL. Draft analysts widely view him as the top running back in the 2026 class, a consensus top 10 overall prospect whose blend of power, speed, and vision made defenses feel outnumbered before the ball was even snapped. His departure was anticipated, planned for, and quietly accepted within the program. Price's announcement, however, landed differently. It carried weight not because his talent was in question, but because his presence had made Notre Dame's offense feel bulletproof. Losing Love hurt. Losing Price at the same time altered the entire picture. Together, they formed a backfield that defined Notre Dame's offensive personality. The Irish averaged more than 200 rushing yards per game, ranking among the nation's best, and crossed the goal line on the ground 38 times, the third highest total in college football. Those numbers were not just statistical achievements, they were statements. Notre Dame imposed its will, controlled tempo, and forced opponents into uncomfortable decisions. Defenses could not load the box without consequences, and they could not play light without being punished. Love and Price gave Freeman the luxury every coach craves: options without compromise. The evaluations confirmed what Saturdays already showed. Love graded as one of the most impactful backs in the country, his explosiveness and efficiency placing him among the elite. Price, though often sharing the spotlight, carried his own weight as a top 10 NFL-graded running back. Few programs could claim such depth, let alone deploy it seamlessly. The pairing was not just productive, it was stabilizing. When games tightened or weather turned ugly, Notre Dame always knew where to turn. Now, that stability is gone. Freeman's challenge is layered. He must replace production, yes, but also trust, rhythm, and identity. Running the ball had been Notre Dame's security blanket, the constant when other areas fluctuated. Without Love and Price, the Irish are forced to answer a question every contender eventually faces. Do you double down on development, or do you seek immediate reinforcement from the outside? The most obvious answer already resides in South Bend, and I.S. Williams enters the offseason as the presumptive successor, a player whose moment has long been anticipated within the program. His raw numbers do not leap off the page. As the third option, he totaled just 200 rushing yards, but statistics rarely tell the whole story for young backs buried behind established stars. Those inside the building point instead to flashes: the sudden acceleration through creases, the balance through contact, the patience that cannot be coached. Williams has looked, at times, like someone waiting for space to open, not just on the field, but on the depth chart. His pedigree suggests he is ready for the opportunity. A four-star recruit across major services, arrived with expectations, and has spent his time learning rather than transferring. Earlier in the season, when asked about his future, he did not campaign for the spotlight or declare ownership of the role. He spoke instead about development, patience, and trust in the process. Those words carry more meaning now. The door has opened, but walking through it will come with pressure. Replacing one NFL-bound back is difficult. Replacing two is an entirely different test. That reality makes the transfer portal impossible to ignore. Notre Dame has never been shy about using it strategically, and the magnitude of this loss almost demands outside exploration. Notre Dame doesn't necessarily need another star, but it may need experience, insurance, and competition. The question is what kind of addition best fits a program that still views itself as ground-driven. One intriguing possibility comes from Liberty, where Evan Dickens quietly built one of the most productive seasons in the country. Dickens' numbers demand attention: more than 1,300 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns, and a national ranking near the top in yards per game. His consistency earned conference honors and academic recognition, reflecting a player who understands preparation as much as performance. In Notre Dame's system, surrounded by higher-end talent and running behind a physical offensive line, Dickens' production could translate quickly. He would not arrive as a developmental project, but as someone capable of handling volume from day one. There is also value in looking beyond headline names. C.J. Miller from Mercer represents the type of addition that rarely dominates conversations but often proves invaluable. Nearly 1,000 rushing yards, double-digit touchdowns, and repeated 100-yard performances speak to reliability. CJ is still developing, but his toughness and willingness to shoulder a workload could make him an ideal complement rather than a replacement. For a team recalibrating its backfield, depth can be just as important as star power. Now, Freeman stands at a familiar crossroads, though the stakes feel heightened. His tenure at Notre Dame has been defined by balance, honoring tradition while adapting to modern realities, trusting development while embracing change. The running back room tests that philosophy more than any position group this offseason. Lean too heavily on youth, and growing pains are inevitable. Rely too much on the portal, and continuity can suffer. The right answer may lie somewhere in between. What remains unchanged is Notre Dame's identity. The Irish are not abandoning the run. That's not who they are, and it's not how Freeman envisions winning at the highest level. The challenge is not rebuilding, but recalibrating. Finding the next combination that restores confidence on third and short, that steadies the offense when momentum wavers, that reminds opponents they can't just outlast Notre Dame in the trenches. As spring approaches, the absence of Love and Price will be felt in every drill, every rep, every conversation about the offense's future. Their departure marks an era that brought dominance and clarity. What comes next will define the ceiling of the season ahead. Freeman's decisions in the coming weeks will ripple far beyond the running back room, shaping not just how Notre Dame plays, but how it believes in itself. In college football, certainty is fleeting. Today's strength can become tomorrow's question without warning. Notre Dame now lives in that space, searching for answers after losing two pillars at once. How quickly those answers emerge will determine whether this moment becomes a setback or the